Greetings. We're here from Future Generations University. And we want to start by saying thank you. Thank you for joining us today for Amplify Your Impact, which is a webinar series designed to highlight digital skills and accessible tools that can help you share your message with your community. We're here from Future Generations University, and our mission is to advance research, learning, and action towards inclusive and sustainable community change worldwide. And we do that in a variety of ways, including through education, action research, and peer learning, which is what we're bringing here today. We're so pleased to welcome you. And if you haven't already, please take a moment to share your name and where you're logging in from in the chat. So on the screen, you can see some quick housekeeping details. Today's agenda is, after this brief introduction, I will ask our presenter, Chris Reiser, to introduce herself, and then she'll take us through a hands-on applied session about building out Google Maps for storytelling and for data exploration. After the presentation and after the hands-on learning segment, there will be an open forum time to ask questions and to share tips or other resources. If you see at the bottom of your screen, there's a Q&A button, so please feel free to enter any questions in the Q&A as we go, and we'll address those at the end of the presentation. The presentation will be just for 1 hour today, and this is being recorded, and it will be shared and disseminated in the days to come. So with that, I will turn it back over to you, Chris, so that you can introduce yourself and take us on this learning journey. Thank you.
Thank you. So my name is Chris Reiser, and I'm the alumni coordinator. I also work with the on the communications team here at Future Generations University. Let's see here. One of the reasons why you'll see this later, I've used maps, particularly in my work with the alumni, on how to showcase all of the alumni work. I've figured it was one of the better ways to show where people were from and the impact that they have influenced through their journeys post-graduation. So I'm going to go ahead and start, and I'm going to our session is going to flow this way about why, the purpose, how to create a custom map, and then we'll have some Q&A at the end. So why maps matter. The reasons why I wanted to showcase this as a possibility for highlighting your work is it's great for creating a portfolio. Stakeholders, whether they're donors, community members, employees, or like in-network and out-of-network, it helps you show evidence in a way that allows them to self-guide. And so you can create a better interaction, and you can see how they are allowed to look into things based off of their interests. And so you can show where you work, who you reach, what's changed. And so there's a lot of different ways that you can do that. And one of them is through a custom map. On a map, you can show all together where your project location is. You can have pictures on the communities that you serve, or how the things that have been implemented with them. You can have descriptions and short stories. And I'll show you some examples of this, of how you can use all of these things together in one click instead of multiple clicks for engaging your audience. So the reason why I chose Google Maps is because it's free, and it's fairly intuitive and easy to use. They don't change the settings on it very frequently. In the years that I've been doing this, I would say in the last 4 years, I haven't seen any changes. So it's nice that it's pretty, things don't move around as far as the software part of it. You can create custom maps, you can share them, you can keep them private. There's different ways that you can interact with them. You can create it to be something that you contribute back and forth with other people. Um, and so it can be helpful in that way. You can also share a link and you can embed it on a website so that it becomes something that lives on your website that you don't change directly on the website. You change it in the map and it's live automatically on your website. So that's something that's very helpful as well. So I wanted to show you some different ways that other nonprofits that have used maps, just to give you some examples. I'll wait for this to load. So this is a nonprofit called Falling Fruit, and they show where basically people can glean. Gleaning is something that is kind of old school, where you go and pick up the additional things that have fallen down. And as I go ahead and zoom in here, you're going to have the breakouts of all the sites, and this is across the world where people can go and pick up free fruit. So fruit that is no longer like after they've already went ahead and done the harvest. This is where you can go ahead and glean. It's quite interesting. And so this is a map that was created by them. You can see it's dynamic, like as I scroll in and out, based off of what they can go ahead and put, what they've mapped out for people to use as a resource. So this is a resource for stakeholders to have access to. Now, this is an example of a partnership map. And this map is for a nonprofit that works with people without homes. And so this is a place where people can look to see where they can get a free meal. And so this is in Sydney, and it shows them like different locations, and you can click on this and see where someone they have breakfast or lunch, and it serves women. So different places, community meals. So it's a really interesting way of showing different partnerships of people working together for the same cause. And so like this one community diner, it's closed on Saturday. So just another example of how someone is, a nonprofit is using a interactive map to show their work and their partnerships. Now here, this is a more traditional kind of way. It's a donor mapping, and this is with the World Bank. And this basically shows all of the World Bank projects by density. So the darker the color, the more projects that are implemented, and you can see down here. This is a customized map that they're doing. This is different than what you would see in a Google map, but it's still plausible and able to do this. It's just customized directly with Google, and the World Bank has the resources to do that. So this is just a different link. You can scroll in again, and it tells you they have 82 projects worth 20 billion, and then you can go ahead and view the projects. So this is an interesting, a different way to use a map for like a donor reporting, as multiple governments provide funding into World Bank. Now, this last one is a storytelling map. And I think it's interesting because this one, like, this is a map in the US about EPA. And it's pollution map. And basically it's giving information about the different EPA things that are happening are being bypassed and where they're being bypassed and what places they're being bypassed in the US. So this is an interesting storytelling map because you can go in and you're going to get a different, like an exemption request was given here for a coal power plant in Texas, Limestone, Texas, and so it gives you some information. So this is a different way of doing storytelling. Um, and so I'm going to continue on, so just to give you some examples of how maps can be used. So what makes a map, um, what makes the best map? You need to have a clear title. I would suggest having organized layers if you have enough information. You should create layers so that people can filter what they're looking for. You can create those layers by project, by country, by theme, by gender also. Um, it's and I'll show you in one of the maps that I've created about the descriptions how it's important to keep the descriptions shorter because when they're too big, it when you work in digital spaces, you realize that the more that people have to click and maneuver, people kind of lose interest. So it's just better to keep things short and to the point, and then people will zero in more if they want to. Photos are really important. Videos are really not as helpful in this type of space because um, they're digitally heavy and hard to load. And so already it's loading a map. And so then you're loading a layer and it's causing too much burden on a mobile device. There would be a lot of lag for a video. Now, when I talk about layers, let me go back. When I talk about layers, I'll show you in one of my examples what a layer is so that you can see when you have a lot of information on a map, it's a way to create basically a filter so you're not overwhelmed with information. But you should also make sure that you have a consistent format in how you're doing things, like how you're being visual about them. You can customize. I'm going to show you how to customize your icons for the different things on a map. Also, there's some customization as far as we talked about the visual hierarchy. And so there's things that you can customize in this as well. So I'm going to go ahead and stop talking about this, and I'm going to start showing you how you can create a map. And so the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Maps on Google, and up here in this upper left-hand corner, you want to click on the menu in Maps. There is no way to go to this other than through this set of directions. So this is very specific. You go to a map, you go to your navigation bar up in the upper hand left, and then you want to go ahead and click on Saved. This right here, it has like a little bookmark. So you want to click on Saved. And here, you're going to have three different things. You have lists, where I have already, you can see some of the things that I've started, labeled things, and then maps. Here, you can see I've obviously make maps. And you want to click specifically on Open My Maps. So we click on Open My Maps. And we want to create a new map. So right up here on the left-hand side, create a new map. You can see already multiple things that I've started. So I'm going to create a new map. And it's going to give me, it's already detecting where I am in the world. Now, I'm going to show you two different ways that you can create a map. You can create things in a one-by-one type of situation. So the first thing I'm going to start is I'm going to create my map title, and we're going to say it's So I'm just creating here my map title and my description. And over here in the bottom right-hand corner, I can expand this out and create a much more larger description. So I can put in, step-by-step instructions, whatever. Or I mean, that's you, but this should be a description of the map. So what it is encompassing, you can mention that if it has filters and things like that, you can put all your information right here. And I'm going to go ahead and click on save. And so now it's already started a map. So I have my map. Now I'm going to start with, I'm going to search for a location. And I'm going to go ahead and here's our university. I'm going to click on this. And there it is. And I want to go ahead right here and I want to click on add to map. So I'm going to add this to my map. Now, here, I'm going to go ahead and change the style of this. Like I have edits, all sorts of things that I can do. Can change the style and I'm fun like this. I want to have a bigger, there's all sorts of options of what we can have as far as different icons. And so if I want to, I'm going to pick on university, this little cap right here. I'm going to click on that. And okay. I can also customize and upload an icon. That's something that you can do you could do in Canva. You could create icons and that you want to go ahead and upload to customize for your link. But I'm going to go ahead and use the one that they have. And I am going to pick our lovely green because it's kind of, we like green here. And then also I can change the photo here. And that's what upload a photo. You guys are going to see how messy and I'm going to use this one, collage that I created for something else. Now, something that you need to be aware of. The way that you see something here is not the way someone sees it on the map. So first of all, I'm going to click save. Now, if I do preview, this is how someone who is looking at my map sees my map. They're going to click on this and notice my photos are cut off. That means when I create my photos, I usually do my photos in Canva and I create them with a bottom orientation, just like we do on Google Sites. Like you can have it anchored at the bottom. Your photos need to be anchored at the bottom with a probably about 30% margin at the top. Otherwise, people don't see the photo here in the preview. They can click on it and you will see it and it looks beautiful. But this is one of those things of like the more clicks you have, and you want people to have like a good representation of what's available. So this is how you go ahead and add things individually, one by one. Okay. So I'm going to go back to my thing, I'm going to edit my map again. And so this is an untitled layer. Notice this, untitled layer. I can title it. So I'm going to rename this layer and this is going to be my base. Okay. So that's how you title a layer. And this is what I was talking about as far as a layer. So now I only have the university on this layer. Now, I can add layers, which is what I'm going to do. This is the second way that you can add information to your map. So I'm going to add a layer. I'm going to import. Sorry, I have two things here. Let me clear that up for you. I'm going to delete this layer. Yes, I want to delete this layer. I'm going to go ahead and import on this layer. Okay. Here, I'm going to go ahead and browse. I have predetermined and asked permission from one of our alumnas, Gauri, from the class of 2025. She is allowing me to use her success mapping in Nepal for ecotourism. And so I've prepped this information specifically for this. So this is a Excel and I'm uploading it. I'm going to show you this Excel now so you can see. And this is her data from her success mapping. It has multiple columns all the way over here to the right. That is indicative of a questionnaire that she has administered in Nepal. And then this is pointing some things out. This is GPS data right here. This is the combined location, latitude, longitude, altitude. And then there's also links here to some visual assets that she has uploaded as part of this. When we do our Kobo session in a couple weeks, we're going to be looking at how that tool is useful, and particularly how that tool can be useful in situations like this. So some things that you have to be aware of. In your columns, you cannot have underscores or any other special characters. You have to be very, very simple with the characters that are in your columns. Additionally, you cannot have more than 64 characters in a column heading. And so sometimes you have to simplify your information, particularly in these columns, because I'll show you in the map. So I'm going to come back over here. I'm going back to my these are the columns. And I said, choose your columns to position your place marks. And so I'm going to go back down to where I know I have longitude and latitude. I'm going to go do. Okay. So here they are. I'm going to click on latitude and I'm going to align it with the latitude right here. And then I'm going to also click on longitude and I can click on longitude here. You do not have to use latitude or longitude. You can use addresses, but then sometimes if it's not a registered address within Google, if it doesn't understand it, you might have to go in and tweak those addresses individually. This is the easier way of doing it. So I've clicked both latitude and longitude. That's where I want my place markers, and I'm going to continue. Now, I want to choose the column to title my markers, and I want to honor them by their respondent names. These are the individuals who have done the questionnaires. So I'm going to go ahead and click on responder name and then finish. Now, it's moved my map, and now it has placed all of her questionnaires here that she's done based off the latitude and longitude in Nepal. And you can see over here all of the different things. So I have one layer up here, that's my base where I have one item. And then I have over here an additional layer that is named after the questionnaire that Gary has administered with all of the people that have submitted. Now, I want to show you how to go ahead and adjust these. So this is one layer. And so I want to go ahead and adjust the layer, and I want them to have a uniform style, which means I'm going to change everything all at once. So I'm changing uniform style, and I'm going to have their names shown by each marker. Great. Now, that's how I'm going to go ahead and change that. So now if you notice over here on my map, I have the names of the different individuals. The further I go in, the better I see their names. When things overlap, it starts to omit them. You can even see that as I scroll out. So that's how I'm doing this. Now, I want to change my markers because I want them to look different. So I'm going to go over here under my layer options. Actually, I don't have to go over into my layer options. I'm going to go right here to this little paint can. because I have uniform style up here. I'm going over to my paint can and I'm going to change what they look like. And so these are ecotourism individuals. And so I'm going to create one. I think hotels might be the best way. And this is where a customized icon, or if you want to go back and not use a filter and find something that you feel is more indicative. So we have animals, weather, crisis, transportation, places is probably the better one. Um, Gated community, neighborhood. No. Hmm. I'm looking for hotel, but I think headquarters. We're gonna go with dormitory just because it's fun. I'm gonna click on that. That's gonna be my new icon. All right. And so it's changed all of my icons now to be this new icon. I'm going to change it to be a different color. I want it to be a fun orange. And now it's changed all my oranges. Now, okay. So that's how you change all of these. If I would have done this now, if I would have changed this to individual, that means I would have to go to each one of my icons and change the icon color, what the icon would be. And so when you're doing layers, I find using uniform style to be easier because everything is together in one layer. So that's why I do it this way. Um, and so here, now I want to show you, I want to change my base map because this is like a default. I can change my base map to be any one of these 9. The satellite view, I think, is a little bit more dynamic. So I'm going to go ahead and click satellite view, but you can change that. Now, sorry. Here is this. So now I have a map. You saw how I did one by one, how I did it in a group. And I can continuing to add more layers by adding layers. And let me show you the preview again. So now because I have more locations, it's zooming me out more so that people realize that there's more to my map. Otherwise, they would have just had me zoomed in over here. Now, in this particular situation, I'm allowing all of these things to be seen. I may not want all of these things to be seen. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to change what is visible. Sorry. So here on all items, so I'm going to click on this. And I'm going to, in this, because it's uniform style, this is again the benefits of it. I'm going to edit here. And now this is given all of these little click or things that are, I can decide basically what can be seen from that original Excel that I put in here, and I can determine. Since people already know where the locations are, I don't have to show any of the GPS. That's not necessary. I want to protect the people, and I'm not going to let them see their address. I'm going to go ahead, and remove some things that I don't feel are absolutely necessary, because if I'm telling a story, I want it to be streamlined. And so in all of this, I'm going to simplify this all down to there down here. And it's because I know this. I'm sorry, you all have to just bear with me. These 3 things: recommendations, what key message, there's more like paragraphs down here. So I'm going to go ahead and remove a lot of this just to show you about making things shorter is better. Okay, that's save, and now that's applied that to everyone. Now, again, this is what we all see, but we want to go back to the preview and we want to click over here. And so now it's changed and it tells us, okay, this is this person. And then the interesting thing, so we have context, and then here we have live links, and people can click on the links to take to a photo. Now, in this, so this is how a viewer would see this. A way to step this up would be to go ahead and in each one of these, you would have to, and this is the difficult part, is you have to go ahead and upload an image to each individual one for it to have a header image at the beginning. And so that's where you have to determine how much time and effort you're going to be putting into a map and where you're going to use it to make sure if the putting in header images is worth it for you. So now that I have shown you I'm now going to show you like specific different examples on how to maps that I've created and gone through these. So specifically how I've used these. Previously on one of our websites to showcase our alumni, this is how we had our alumni showcased, is by little flags, and then you would click on a flag and I'll pick I'm gonna pick Afghanistan. So click on Afghanistan, and then we had everyone together under Afghanistan. In order to change this, I went ahead and created a Google map that lives on our website at the top of our alumni page. And so this is an example of, I'm going to show you how to share your map so that you can do this. In this map, I can move it around. I can zoom in, I can zoom out. It's all right here. And I'm going to go ahead and click on, let's see here, and go to the library again. And so this is what I was talking about, like uploading a picture for each one. And then we have like just a description for Adolphus, what cohort he is and what focus he was during the masters. So, and we have other people, for example, like, this is one way to allow people to click around and be able to have snapshots of information. And so this is more of a storytelling and portfolio style. Now, I'm going to go back and I'm going to show you here in this map what you need to do to share it. And so anything in Google, whether it's your website, a form, or anything, you need to share through here. So this is share, and I can have anyone with a link can view it. Let others search and find this. I can make this viewable that way. I don't particularly want to allow other people to search and find this map. But I would go ahead and this is what I want to do. It's updated my link, and I would copy this link, and this is the link that I can go ahead and use and embed into a website. And so on a Google site, you can add this map directly, just like we did on the university's alumni page. So I'm going to go ahead and you can also share this on a drive. Now, there's other things that you can do. Like this is a little bit different than, so you have other things like you can copy a map, open a map, and then embed on my site. Like this, these are different ways. Um, this is one I want to show you here. View in Google Earth. But I'm going to show you a different map that I had created in Google Earth. So, oh, I'm sorry,
Yeah,
Lori. I'm so sorry.
I was gonna
Um,
say, Chris, there's a little bit of a lag between your screen and what we can see. So yeah, so just
okay. All right. So one of the cool things about Google Maps is Google Maps are connected to Google Earth. And it's like taking Google Maps to a step higher. And it's really interesting in a different way because it even is better in the sense of creating a presentation. So I'm going to go back to my maps. I have to find, because like I said, you can't just go to my maps. That as a prompt doesn't exist. Um, and then I have to go over here back to my saved. And then I want to look at my maps. Now, I'm going to look at a previous map that I had done. Um, let's see here. I'll look at this map. I'm going to open it in my maps. All right, we're here. And I'm going to, let's see here. I want to share. Oh, I don't want to do this. I don't want to share. Oh, it's because it's not my map. Uh, that's sorry. This is why it's not letting me do it. This is not my map. I was going to point this out earlier. Notice that the icon up here doesn't have my picture. It's because this is the map that I created with the university's a different. So it looks like the university. It's not individual. So I'm going to go back. I'm so sorry. I'm going to go back and go back to a different map. I'll find another map. I promise. Um, and look at this one. See if this one's my map. There we are. Okay. And so remember when I said earlier, like you have different, like these are the different things I want to preview. Now down here, I wanted to see it in oh, it's not letting me. Oh, you guys, I'm so sorry. You can view these in different ways. Give me 1 second here. I'm willing to take questions as we talk or as you see me fiddle around and struggle with technology at the same time.
Well, this
Any
isn't so much a question, Chris, but I just want to draw attention to the fact that you've identified each different layer has a different color and different icon.
mm,
And that's an additional way of showcasing and storytelling about our alumni. Can you speak to that?
yeah, here. So here on this map, like over here, you'll see like there's this collapsible part. These are all the layers that we have. So we have the different foci that alumni or that students have identified. So agriculture and food security. So if I want to say I only want to look at certain things, like I only want to look at agriculture and food security, I can go ahead and click on these additional layers and remove them so that I can see and focus only on the alumni that are in agriculture and food security. And so and you can see that, everyone's, sorry, it's really, I wanted to show the different names. So like you can see everyone's name. Um, and and you can, like, if I want to see this, so this is embedded, but if I wanted to look at this map, say on its own, I can look at it in even you can take the map automatically links. So you can open it up to be its own page. Um, Now, I'm going to try Google Earth really quick to see if I can show you. All right. So I had done this previously, and you can see this is another thing. This is not linked. Also, like you won't find this icon on your on the 9 square that you usually have in your upper right on Google. And so I'm going to show you this tour that I did. And this was based off of chats that I had had. And so this is Google Earth. Um, and maybe this is something that I can show you all how to do something like this. But the point here is that everything that was in that map is now in Google Earth. The differences between the two. Google Earth is much heavier. It has a much bigger lag than Google Maps. And so I would suggest this is very interesting and dynamic, but doing a recording of a presentation, I believe, is much more helpful than showing it on a, and here's why. I'm going to show you this in live time so that you can see how it can be a little problematic with how heavy Google Maps is or Google Earth is. And I'm going to go ahead and click on presentation. And so it spins the Earth and it takes me around and it has everything here. I can click the space bar to go ahead and advance it. And now it's going to take me to my next alumni. And then to my next one. A lot of that, I did this specifically, a lot of the alumni are in a particular area, so I wouldn't use so much lag in spinning the earth because I kept the like where the camera is positioned for this is all controlled by when you create this presentation. Um, Now I'm moving around a little bit, and now I'm going to move to another part of the world, and this is where one of the other alumni is. And now we're moving again. And so this is one way that you can take something that you created in Google Maps and feed it into another Google tool and create something more dynamic. Again, this is interesting, and I'm going to go ahead and stop the presentation here on that. But it's one way that you can go in and because this is what I'm talking about, a visual hierarchy. All of that is determined in Google Earth. Like you can create the size of the icon, you can control the size of the font, et cetera, et cetera. And so there's more things that you can do in Google Earth. However, it's much more powerful, but it can be very, I can have a lag in presentation. So
And also we struggle to link it. There you can't
yeah.
embed it in a website.
Yes, you cannot embed this in a website. So, however magnificent it can look, it looks beautiful. You can't host it anywhere. It has to live on Google Earth, which can be, I mean, like I said, it's a best something to have as a presentation that you can record, um, because there's no because once you put a click here, there's no returning back to the original site, right? So that's some of the issues here. So I gave you this. So common mistakes, too much text. Like I tried to show you that a little bit in how I was whittling down the information that we had from a questionnaire. Like it was a great way to upload a lot of information all at once, but you have to kind of go back and whittle down the information so that you're getting people focused on exactly what you would like them to see. Um, Having visuals is important, and it's when someone sees something, they connect more emotionally with it, and that's important. Um, if you don't have structure, people will get lost, and so you want to make sure that you provide that for them, and making sure that you're uniform in how you're providing your structure. inconsistent data. So one of the reasons why you don't see that Google Earth presentation somewhere else is because it isn't representative of all of the alumni. And so we wanted to make sure that all of our alumni were represented because I wasn't able to chat with everyone. Like that Google Earth presentation was based off of chats that I had with alumni, but it wasn't all of the alumni that we have. So we wanted to make sure that it's uniform. And so that's why we went ahead and did a Google map that has everyone's representation on it so that everyone is equally seen. I also find that in the context that we work, borders change. And so do, geopolitics change. And so I find that where people are from may not necessarily be connected to their passport identity. And so I find that a map is much more helpful in creating identity versus going with someone's country because it shows more context of where they're from and where they're working. Um, and and I could show you, I have a map. The first way I started with Google Maps was when I lived in Morocco, and we had a massive map that a bunch of employees, we all put information on there because we were living there as foreigners working. And it was the way that we helped each other find things. Like I went and got a haircut here. And so we ended up with a map that had like hundreds and hundreds of markers on it. And it became just messy. And so you have those layers are very, very important to make sure that you're being consistent about like, if I'm looking for certain things, this is what you're looking for. And you can, have everything there, but make sure that people understand how they can go ahead and clarify that information so that they find exactly what they're trying to connect with. Um, so have a clear purpose for your map. You've heard me talk about that a little bit. Use simple language. You don't want to, uh, reports are much more better for more description. This is something that you want to show people in a quick way. Add photos wherever possible. Um, Now, I would say this as far as 3 to 4 max lines, it depends on what you're showing and depends on what your map is about. If you're talking about what does something do, like a location, that's one thing. But if you're describing a project, I think it's worth it to make sure that you have a good summary. And then make sure that it's updated regularly. When someone graduates, the first thing that they hear from is, "Hi, I would like to put this description about you on our alumni map." And so I try to make sure that that map is always updated with the most up-to-date alumni information. Um, so I wanted to say a special thank you to Gary, who allowed us to use her data for this case example. And do we have any questions?
Chris, will you thank you. I mean, we've worked together on this and it's still really insightful to see the step-by-step process that you use. Um, I know that there was a little bit of a glitch in tech when we were doing the sharing options, but can you tell us about using a personal account versus
Mm,
maybe a group account so that for people to be able to access or have permissions to see maps?
sure. So one of the things so I'm gonna point out something in like the maps that I was looking at. So like here's a bunch of different maps, right? Um, Now I want to point out this is it comes back to like a HR kind of a thing, which is what I used to work in previously. When you use a general email, it's because it's better than using a personal email. So if I, for some reason, happen to separate from Future Generations University, all of the maps or assets that I've created for the university would become inactive. And then it's difficult to transfer those over to someone else. And a way to keep something uniform and living with the institution versus the person, it's important to use that generalized email because otherwise they're going to have this as the individual as the author versus if I look up here, right here, you see our logo. Like we could change this, but otherwise you would see Chris Reiser, and it's not about me. It's about the work that I'm doing with this institution. And so I want to make sure that this institution is being identified as the holder of this information versus the individual. And so that's why you'll see like I had created things over here, but then I had to recreate them over in the institutional account so that that focus stays with the institution versus me as an individual.
And then added to that, it allows multiple people in your
Yeah,
enterprise to access it and make updates. So even though Chris is never allowed to leave or separate, if Chris is unavailable, then one of her colleagues can go in and make updates.
correct. Any other questions? Well, I was going to say, if you guys want to learn how to do Google Earth, when we send out our survey at the end of all of the webinars, make sure you, you do a specific request because it's a little bit different from what in a person, yes, you can share with someone and make them an editor. You can. Um, Let me see if I can show you that. Like I know I can do that on my personal maps. This is the cons map. I don't want to do that there. Hmm. On personal maps, you can for some reason, but this is different. And I'll show you. So let me show you the difference here. Um, I mistakenly used my account here, and I had put in a bunch of things. So on this, I had added. Wow, okay. You used to be able to do that, Larry. Now you can't. You cannot make someone else an editor. I'm looking for. Nope, I do not see the option. I used to be able to share a map with someone and have them as an editor, but no. Unfortunately, no. Sorry. Any other questions? So that's another reason why you have one master account versus individual accounts. All right. Well, we are approaching the hour here. And I just want to thank you guys all for being here and participating with me. I hope that you found this to be informative and helpful. Um, and I hope that you join us next time. Next week, we are going to have a hands-on session on presentation and slide decks. Lindsay is going to be presenting next week, and we hope to see you all there.
Thanks again, Chris. Thanks, Lindsay. Thanks, everyone, and see you all next week.